Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session on T20 cricket, digital game on for brands. Cricket is a religion in India with an ability to attract a billion plus eyeballs. Brands have always backed this game owing to the massive reach and scale it provides consistently for years. Post pandemic, when stadium visits came to a halt, people shifted to digital mediums to watch live sports. Their love for cricket did not change, but only did the medium for seeing it. For instance, people have been watching IPL on Disney Plus Hotstar for several seasons now, along with many other leagues. IPL is India's biggest T20 cricket and advertising festival that hooks the nation for nearly 3 months every evening. Although brands had already started to advertise on Disney Plus Hotstar in the last few years, post pandemic, they saw a huge amount of traffic and engagement on the platform. Today, scores of brands across categories are advertising around T20 cricket on the OTT, as they are seeing a lot of value in it. On the other hand, the OTT platform Disney Plus Hotstar has also stepped up its game to bring the live stadia experience to the users. Today, as things are beginning to open up, OTT has become the preferred choice of medium for audiences to keep up with their favorite game. So now, let us hear from the industry stalwarts on their learnings and plans for advertising around the forthcoming T20 cricket on Disney Plus Hotstar. I welcome my panelists for the day. My first panelist for the day is Mr. Shashank Srivastava, Executive Director, Maruti Suzuki India. Welcome, Shashank.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining, Shashank. My next panelist for the day is Mr. Vinay Bagdi, co-founder in Neo. Welcome. Welcome, Vinay.
Thanks, Devesh.
And my final panelist for the day is Mr. Nitin Bhavanpillai, Head Ad Sales, Disney Star. Welcome, Nitin.
Thank you, Devesh. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining this session and taking time for it. Nitin, I'll begin with you first. How has the pandemic induced a change in the digital viewing for live sports and, especially IPL in India? I would want to hear it from both from a viewer's point of view as well as from an advertiser's point of view.
Okay. So Devesh, as you know, live sports has always been a big crowd puller in India. IPL, obviously, any form of cricket, IPL more so, any form of cricket has always been the largest crowd puller in this. And if you look at stadiums, they are full. Earlier days, it used to be only on TV. It was always one of the highest rated programs if across television, any format of any genre. But over the last 2 years, because of COVID pandemic, I think definitely there's been a significant change in the way overall consumption has happened. So obviously, if you see last 2 years, I think Disney Plus Hotstar has done a phenomenal job in terms of reaching out to millions of audience in this country.
Right.
Obviously, people would want to watch it on wherever and whenever they can mode. And that's
Absolutely.
what the biggest advantage of OTT is, I think, as against a regular medium of any other platform. But I think what has happened in the COVID form is in 2020, if you remember, IPL was the first live sport
Absolutely.
to come after the first wave of COVID.
Correct.
And even last year, if you look at 2021, we started off, then the second phase happened after the wave 2. Once again, first live sport to happen. I think that has definitely brought in a lot of genuine interest in the viewers to the OTT platform. That's the first thing. Second, if you look at overall over the last 3 to 4 years, internet and smartphone penetration in India has grown multifold. I think that has definitely shown a lot of traction with the audience. And obviously, adoption of digital payments has made it easier for them to adapt the digital OTT platforms. And I think all these 3-4 factors enabled and accelerated because of COVID has given a massive growth in the live sports consumption on OTT platform like Disney Hotstar. The third thing which is also playing significant part is the connected TV. With the broadband penetration, I think connected TV is also becoming a bigger and bigger section of the audience. I think that all this combined has played a lot of role. So I think that's from a consumer perspective or viewer perspective. Now coming to the advertiser perspective, I think over the last 2 years, the big change has been obviously when we went through massive downturn in wave 1 and wave 2, the entire industry went through a massive economic downturn, right? And post that, everyone wanted to connect back with their audience. And as I said, IPL timings were right after wave one and wave two, which gave an opportunity to all the advertisers to connect back with their customers. I think that's the reason why we saw massive demand from advertisers across the years on live sports, right? The second phase of IPL, as I said, coincided also with the festival season.
Right.
October, November, Diwali season. And I think that led to a big opportunity for all the brands. So if you look at IPL 22, which is coming in now, we have further big attractions, right? We have got two new teams. The entire teams have been rejected. If you saw the massive customer or audience interest in the auctions itself, you will see what kind of people are waiting for the entire IPL 22 season. So we think we are on the verge of a massive IPL this time. From an advertiser perspective, I think there have been always steady players like Maruti. We have Shashank from Maruti, who's been always a big supporter of cricket. So we have players from automobile, FMCG, BFSI, consumer durables, gaming, and e-commerce always. These are always on categories on the IPL kind of or any live sport kind of event. But we also seen massive interest coming in from new players, and that's where we have players like Neo, where we have Vinay joining us on this call. I think that has also been a good addition for us to get new category of advertisers. I think a clear indication of how massive the interest is can be given from a fact that as I speak today we are completely sold out on entire features inventory like Super Force, Super 6, fall of wickets, milestones, everything is sold out. And I think that itself shows the kind of interest which all the advertisers have, and the customers are waiting for this IPL 22, Tata IPL 22.
Wow. And I still remember in 2020 when the first announcement came for that IPL will happen. I think it was in September.
Yes.
It will start in September. There was such a big relief, from the consumer point of view that, they'll be able to witness a live sport, because when it was postponed, everyone knew that it couldn't happen in April because things started anyways in April, March and April. So it was such a sigh of relief in the families, in the, amongst the audiences. And plus, especially in the advertising industry, I mean, like, all of us were, reeling with the heavy losses. And so IPL came as a big savior. I still remember that. Tons of stories were happening around that. And there was so much buzz and chatter around this property that it was more of a kind of a savior at that point of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Coming to you, Shashank, and Nitin has already mentioned that, you've been over a big supporter of the game, and, you have been a long-standing partner for, IPL. So what has your experience with, IPL, and then how, it has helped you, achieve your, year-on-year objective, especially, with Disney Plus Hotstar?
Yeah, so before we come to Disney and Hotstar, I'd like to give an overview of how this trend has been spanning out. So one aspect, of course, is that for auto category, always three genres had a very high affinity for RTG. One is sports, second is news, and third is general entertainment, the GEC.
Yeah.
So these three had a very high affinity, and our investments in sports have been pretty heavy over the years. And as I think you said, Devesh, in the beginning, among the sport, cricket is obviously the biggest. Cricket is like a religion in India, and it offers a very high reach, and also not only reach but faster reach. That is something which is makes us a media association a very obvious choice. And IPL amongst that is very big, as the viewership figures would indicate. Second, I think on an overall picture, the digitalization itself has been gaining ground, not only in automobile, but across all product categories.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the other aspect which I think Nitin spoke about, the penetration of the internet, the availability of the smartphones, the cheaper data packages, and so on and so forth. All that has helped in creating that environment, especially for us, where overall it makes great sense to invest in category tournaments like IPL, especially on the OTT platform. I come to that, and as Nitin mentioned, we have been investing in Hotstar OTT since 2017. Actually, even though at that time I think television and mainstream media were more heavy weightage for any media plan. Hotstar, of course, I will request Nitin not to increase prices so much, even if there is so much demand. So in 19, actually, our investment went up even further. We obviously did both actually in television and this thing. And even in the September, November period, we have invested heavily in Hotstar, the OTT platform. This is done obviously. One reason obviously is because Disney is so good. I like Disney, but more importantly for our brand, I think as I just said, it gives us great reach, and the affinity for our TG is really strong and that has given us very good results. For example, just to quantify, five-fold increase in Google searches for our brands because of this association with Hotstar OTT IPL. I'm talking about the last season. There was a jump of 10 to 15% in terms of brand message association. There is jump of 18 to 23% in purchase intent. So obviously it's giving us results as far as brand is concerned. So not just because OTT is good or cricket is great for as for affinity, we have to measure the actual ROI. And that seems to be indicating that the investments are pretty good. And we will come to that later as to why consumers are shifting towards OTT, and why therefore the advertisers will follow. We will follow wherever the consumer goes. And I think consumer is doing it because he can watch video on demand, the choice of medium, mobile or television or wherever on the, while he's traveling. OTT as a platform offers all that. And from our perspective, obviously, there is more precise targeting, more personalization. We know exactly what consumer is buying, where he's watching what. So I think all these things makes a great ecosystem for both advertisers and the platform, the broadcaster, to have a partnership together for a win-win situation.
So you have been increasing your spends on the Disney Plus year on year, Shashank?
So it's, I would say it's been, yes, overall investments have been increasing. Okay. And that's why I've been requesting Nitin to be more, to allow us smaller prices, even if the demand seems to be increasing all the time. And I'm sure in this program, Nitin will confirm that. If not,
so thanks a lot, Shashank, for telling everyone that it's not just because I and you know each other that you spend money. But just to reiterate what Shashank said, Devesh, I'll just add a point. You look at the OTT audience in this country, right? Between all the OTT players in India, there are close to 60 million people who have some form of subscription of any OTT player in this country. Which means approximately 50 to 60 million Indian households have some form of OTT connection, right? And that's a significant percentage. And if you look at the overlap of that with the auto category, I would say it's as good as 90%, if not 100%. And I think that is where it makes big sense. And that is why Shashank talked about ROI, and which is very absolutely correct, because I think the audience which is already moved to the OTT platform is the real audience who's a great target segment for automobile as a vertical.
Correct. No, that's true. That's absolutely true. And I think, a lot of audiences which are moved on the OTT platforms, they understand the content bit very well, and they understand, they have their the brand affinity also. They understand the part of the brand affinity, and they're very, very particular in their minds. How they want to be engaged and what content they want to be engaged. So they're pretty focused in that manner. On that part, coming to you, Vinay, for a startup like yours, what are the key objectives, when you go for advertising on IPL, and how does, Disney Plus Hotstar helps you to achieve these objectives?
So yeah, I was listening into what Nitin was saying and what Shashank was saying, and it's very similar, plays out in the startup world, especially, if you look at majority of the startups, it's about taking things digital. For example, if you look at my startups, we are all in fintech. So the whole idea is, how do you marry finance and tech and make things digital, make things convenient for the customer? So the product is digital. Naturally, the advertising will also, go towards digital medium, because that's where the customers are going. And if you look at mobile penetration, internet, you spoke about, my favorite one is, of course, connected TV, because it really takes you to the best of the, I would say, the target segment which anybody would aspire to go to. So the way we were measuring is, like a typical startup, we start slow, spend less, see the measurements, and everything has to kind of work for us on two key variables. It has to give me an ROI when I'm investing something in terms of pure performance, and then it needs to give me an ROI in terms of my brand recall. Shashank was measuring Google searches, organic traffic, and how does this all lead to? When we started our first interaction with Disney, and I myself am a customer of a connected TV, so I can imagine millions and millions of people like me on the platform, where I can curate, I can personalize which segment I want to go after. It's a phenomenal place for a marketeer to experiment and learn, and also kind of meet our objectives. So when we did it first time last year, we were very, naturally it was an experiment mode, and we were trying to understand where we go to. But the results were phenomenal. In fact, my cost of acquisition during IPL phase, whether it was the April, March IPL, or when it was shifted to the September, was actually equal without. So basically, whatever money you put, or in our case, whatever money we were putting on the advertising front, was reducing my cost of acquisition because of the increase in organic traffic. So while I was getting my ROI on the performance marketing, which was unexpected, much better than where we were, and also the brand recall and the brand ROI were dramatically higher. So it was like kind of although we intuitively understand that cricket, IPL, Hotstar, so we knew that it's going to work. It's very difficult for it not to work. But the extent to which it worked really kind of very, very gladly, happily surprised us. Maybe COVID, pandemic, things have shifted digitally much faster than what we anticipated. And hence we were very, very excited with the results. And if you look at this year, our budget is 4x compared to maybe 4 or 5x compared to what we did last IPL. Because last IPL also, by the time we realized this has happened, went back to buy more inventory, it was all sold out as usual. So this time we didn't make the mistake. We were kind of interacting since January. We were part of the auction, got great results in auction itself. And now we are very, very eagerly looking towards the IPL coming forward. As Nitin mentioned, 2 new teams, a lot of excitement, long duration. Because in cricket also, if you look at your bilateral series, test matches, people maybe see highlights, and that's, I don't know whether they look at it beyond that. Except for IPL and World Cup, I really doubt that, you get this kind of passion and the madness for any other sport or anywhere else. And for that kind of bonanza to continue for 1.5, 2 months, for any marketer, for any startup to create a brand recall, I don't think there's a better medium. So we are very excited.
No, I can already see Nitin smiling, Vinay, with all his inventory sold, and already 2 of his biggest advertisers are now. When the pandemic started, all of us knew that we were not able to visit the stadiums, we're not able to get that electrifying experience of the stadiums, where people shout, people dance, people in complete joy for every wicket, for every run scored. Okay, but how has Disney plus Hotstar, brought that live experience of on-ground stadium onto the digital screen? And then what are the, differences that you have created, with the technological advancements that are available, that are helping, audiences to get that the feeling of live experience.
Yeah, Devesh, you're right. If the audience is allowed in the stadium, obviously, brands can have those on ground or outside the ground, outside the stadium engagements with their audience, and the customers or the viewers also get a chance to interact with the brand. Obviously, with behind closed door matches happening. That's been a difficult proposition for the brands to interact. And that is where we've stepped up our game. Thankfully, technology helps us. So what we do normally for the last 2 years, we started is enabling our social features so that there's a better interactive experience for our audience. Advertisers can engage with their audience via hot shots, video duets, and branded emojis on the social feed. So we've started having a lot of social engagement so that the brands can engage. Uh, Similarly, in the ad solutions, our standard ad formats obviously are there, like the pre-rolls, mid-rolls, or billboards and all those things. But we also started having squeeze ups, brand pages, so that the brands can talk about their value proposition, branded moments. So there's a solution for every brand marketeer's objective, so that they can try and engage with their audience or their customers as much as possible and as much as technology can enable. We are always um, trying to innovate more. Recently, we also started creating branded content solutions. Brands can collaborate with Disney Plus Hotstar's branded content solutions arm, which is called Disney Plus Hotstar Creative Works, to create custom content solutions to tell their brand story on live sports. Moreover, there are opportunities beyond live matches in the form of content associations before and as well as after the matches that brands can leverage. So we've done as much as possible trying to ensure that the brands get opportunity to engage with their audience and be as close as possible to their customers.
Nitin, a while ago, you were also talking about connected TV, where, you are offering the advertisers of, helping them, target the audiences via connected TV. Can you elaborate a little more on that experience or that opportunity that you are providing to the advertisers?
Yeah, I think CTV viewership in India is definitely a massive growth story. As per the latest report which I had read, there are close to 30 odd million households in this country already with connected TVs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we do not have the exact number, but that's the broad number which the industry is talking about.
Okay.
Now, and if I have to look at the way we are following, the pattern is very similar to what's happened in the West. In fact, we are seeing a similar growth story. In fact, I read a recent report by MediaSmart, which very clearly says that smart TV or connected TV ownership will surpass 50% of homes globally by 2026, which is just about 3 to 4 years, right? So basically, if it has to be at 50%, it should be somewhere around 20-25% already now. With projections like this, the CTV revolution is set to be the biggest revolution in home entertainment, post the cable TV revolution in the 1990s, which we saw as our when we were small kids, right? So I think with that kind of growth in the viewership on CTV, we are seeing a massive interest from advertisers on Disney Plus Hotstar. We in fact already heard Vinay how he's super excited about connected TV as a value proposition, right? And it's a targeting option which we started providing to all our advertisers. That's one of the industry first solutions we provided. I think going forward, we'll see more and more advertisers adopting CTV advertising as a critical new addition to their media mix.
Interesting. And Shashank, coming to you, how has digital, changed the entire ecosystem for brands, in terms of entry, engagement, and reach? And, in your case, how has Disney Plus Hotstar helped you in creating that deeper engagement with your cricket loving audiences?
Yeah, so if you look at the auto industry as such, the digitalization itself has made a massive impact the way business is done. So we keep saying that of the 26 touch points that the consumer goes through while he from the time he decides to buy a car to when he actually buys the car. Out of those 26 touch points, we have digitized now 24 out of those 26 touch points. Only two remain, which is a physical delivery and the test drive. Those two obviously cannot be digitized unless we go to the Star Wars sort of digital, teleportation. So we talk of phygital in automobile, and that is no different from the media habits also, which our consumers seem to have developed. I'll give an example. In 2016, on the digital platform, we used to get about 3 to 5% of our inquiries, about 15% by just before the pandemic, and now 40-45% within 3 months of the lockdown. So it's sort of accelerated that whole digitalization process. And our association with Hotstar. It has been before that. Actually, we started in 17. We have put in a lot of money in 19. We have done it in 2020 as well, and that association is continuing. And the reason I mentioned is that it has given us a great brand salience, as also it appears that the jump in purchase intent as well. So for us, for example, when we have been talking about, I think Vinay mentioned how IPL is giving a massive platform for with viewership from diverse audiences, giving large reach, especially for high affinity audiences, which auto demands. But I must compliment also a lot of things which have been done and innovation being done to increase the engagement for the brand, which I think Devesh, your question originally referred to.
Very interesting points, Shashank, that you have mentioned that, in last 5 years, how things have changed for you. I want to go back a little, back in time, let's say in 2017, when you first decided, to advertise on Disney Plus Hotstar and start the association. So how difficult it was, and what were the kind of expectations that you had set then? Okay. From the association, and today obviously it's a very strong association. You know what you're going to get out of this, and digital was not a big phenomena then, I mean, like as it is today. So how difficult and how interesting that decision was.
Yeah, so obviously we also keep studying the consumer preferences in terms of media, and then decide where to invest. Obviously, if we are investing large amounts, we would really have to be careful about the trends where we can get the best ROIs. So it has been a process of learning also, while the OTT platform itself has developed over the years. And also we have played a little, I would say we have slowly shifted away. In the sense, if you look at 2016 or even before, actually IPL started 2008, this is the 14th edition. We started investing big time earlier in television alone and the ground. So you have on-ground investment, and in about 6-7 years back, we did only on-ground and television. We invested, I think, close to about. Then when it came to 17, we tried to see whether we can get additional reach of OTT, because the platform seemed to be giving great return on investment for the type of additional reach that it was providing. So we did both things. We invested in on-ground, on television, and also on Hotstar for IPL. And then the next year, we sort of went away from on-ground, and we did, of course, one reason was that the on-ground was taken by some other auto auto manufacturer. So we did OTT and television, increase the percentage of investment in OTT, because by that time OTT was finding much bigger traction. And in 2019, actually, we did much more of OTT. So we have now slowly shifted, and as it is getting more popular, and Hotstar has been doing a lot of innovation, as I just mentioned. So as long as we see a good return for us in terms of the ROI, obviously we are getting more comfortable investing a larger percentage on the OTT platform of Disney Hotstar. So that is how we have evolved. So it was sort of a not exactly a leap of faith, as much as step by step, getting greater confidence in that medium. And I'm glad that we have made the right calls and got the good returns on the investment that we have made on this OTT platform.
Absolutely. Vinay, Shashank made a point that, so how does it helps, a startup like yours, which is on a journey to spread across pan India, and, with the sharp targeting approach, it helps you to reach out to, the focused audiences.
Yeah. And, what Shashank was mentioning about targeting and spray and pray. So earlier, when you do advertising on newspaper or on general TV, it is like a spray and pray, that you just hope that the person you want to read is also reading.
Right.
And you pay disproportionate amount of money for a lot of those audience who you do not or may not have the right product for. But when you are able to do cohort-based targeting, as I mentioned, CTV is among all what is offered. CTV is my favorite platform for a reason that I understand that for you to have a broadband at your home, to have the intellect to put a broadband and put the TV on, which is a smart TV, to
Right.
ensure that it is working. It is a certain profile of a customer. So when Nitish was mentioning that if I overlap with cars, maybe it will be 70, 80, 100%. I don't know. Overlap with an iPhone will be significant number. Overlap with a bank account, I'm sure, and that's the business we are in, like lending, possibility to lend, it's like almost 100%. And when that also, if I'm able to target the segments which or cohorts which I am keen on, whether it is based on city, whether it is based on earnings, whether it is based on age groups, so it just makes your messaging so much more sharper and so much more relevant, and a return on investment is also so much more better, because you'll be, if you are advertising to a smaller cohort, you can do maybe more compared to if you try and do a spray and pay kind of a campaign. So it has been really phenomenal what we see. I've looked at curated cohorts, what Hotstar already has, 36 of them. So they cover probably everything. Beyond that, we also come back with a few cohorts which Disney has been very, very kind to curate for us. So as I see it, this is the future, and at least in our case, we don't see us slowing down anytime in the future also.
I mean, like, in your opinion, it's a good idea, and I think it's a good entry point also for startups and for new age brands, to go ahead to leverage cricket, because every brand in India wants to leverage cricket. They know that if you want to achieve scale, if you want to achieve do that in a traditional format, it becomes difficult. For startups, I mean, like, I think it's much better to go on the OTT route, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is, and you just pick up experiment from, or rather, you have a benefit of hindsight, because you look at what's happening in Super Bowl in US, and how attractive it is for all advertisers. Naturally, IPL is the most attractive property in India, and for startups to be able to do that in the curated manner, which I was just mentioning, it is so much more like we understand this whole digital business. That's why we are in business in a way. And for us, it is like a almost a dream come true when this level of flexibility is available on what to do, what not to do. And hence, if you look at the advertisements which were on television ago, the kind of companies that were advertising, and when you shift to the OTT platforms, especially the IPL property, especially Hotstar, last year, and you look at the top brands that were advertising, I thought as if I'm living in a fintech world. I mean, it was only startups and fintechs, and of course, no offense to Maruti, but it is really, really very attractive for fintechs also, as it is attractive for players who are like Maruti.
So, they're coming to you, Nitin. How has been the response of the advertisers on the vernacular feed of Disney Plus Hotstar for IPL? I believe they have 5 language feeds, and they are enabling. How are they enabling regional brands to build connection with the audiences, IPL on Disney Plus Hotstar?
Yes, Devesh. So as you heard from Vinay as well as Shashank, I think the most important aspect which any advertiser looks for is to ability to reach out to their specific cohort or their specific target audience. And I think that is the most important thing a digital medium allows. And that is where we realize that there are a lot of regional advertisers or local players. So for example, a regional consumer electronics chain in Andhra Pradesh wouldn't want to advertise on national network because it just doesn't make sense. Their presence is limited to few cities within Andhra Pradesh and Telangana.
Right.
So for them, that is where it becomes very relevant for them to say, okay, how do I target only consumers who are in that particular geography? So one is to obviously do geographical targeting, but we also realize that if we were able to give regional language feed, that would make a lot of sense, because that will not only allow advertiser, but it will also bring in a lot of new view audience, because a lot of audience are very comfortable listening to the commentary in their mother tongue rather than listening in Hindi or English. I think that was the primary reason we started off with 5 languages feeds: Hindi, English, Tamil, Telugu, and Kannada. And some of the important or some additional matches, we also do it in Bengali or Marathi if required. So that way we allow viewers to watch and listen to the commentary and watch the entire IPL in their mother tongue. So this gives regional advertisers in those particular states or targeting those particular language speakers to reach out with their campaigns in that regional language ad. And that is the most important way of connecting to your consumers. So we've been able to do that. And we've seen a lot of interest from regional target advertisers, because if you're a small advertiser, that's the best thing you can get. You're reaching out to your target audience at a very limited budget rather than spending a lot of money and having a media spill, which just doesn't make sense for them. So I think that is why we have seen a lot of interest, and we continue to grow that.
Shashank and Vinay, have you toyed with the regional feeds of the Disney Plus Hotstar for IPL previously? Shashank, more in your case?
No, we haven't. But as he's saying, as Nitin is saying, it's a. We realize that vernacular is getting bigger and bigger, and earlier it used to be the Kerala and Tamil Nadu market, but increasingly Bengal, Maharashtra, and Karnataka, they have become really big in terms of vernacularing. So obviously, listening in a mother tongue is obviously a added attraction for viewing these matches. So I think we are considering seriously those regional feeds as well.
And Vinay, what's your thoughts on how important regional feeds, when a brand is trying to connect with its regional audiences, are important?
Again, it comes to segmenting and targeting. So, for example, our current product is more English in nature, and hence the targeting is for us accordingly. But we are thinking of a product, and I've been speaking to some of my fintech friends who've been advertising on Disney for some time, like last couple of years, and they've seen actually great results coming from a mix of language and region targeting. So you do a geography and you pick a language and you try and go tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 kind of towns. And there the response to a digital product, which comes in a vernacular language, along with a digital medium, which comes in a vernacular language, is just a phenomenal outcome. That's at least my understanding of what's going on.
So before I close the session, my last question for all of you is like, how do you think, associating with a property like IPL, helps brands? Nitin, I'll begin with you first.
I think this panel itself is a classic representation of a large, huge, India's one of the largest consumer goods company, which is Maruti. And then there's on the other extreme, we have a highly digital new age company, which is growing rapidly. Two extreme contrasts of companies where we are seeing how IPL is able to serve purpose for Maruti as well as Neo. Absolutely. I think that's a classic example of how a new age brand as well as a traditionally established, very strong brand who really doesn't need any second introduction. Maruti doesn't need an introduction in Indian consumers' mind, but despite that, Maruti finds it valuable to come back again and again on this platform. So I think IPL has delivered. This is the only platform as a Tata IPL, if you look at as a platform overall, this is the only platform in this country which reaches out to over 500 million population of this country.
Absolutely.
Right. And so if the brand has any value proposition to reach out to their consumer audience, I think no better platform than IPL, Tata IPL, I would say. That's the way to.
Great. Vinay, what's your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are actually, they'll be a little funny also, but let me anyway put it on. So for a startup, creating a brand has various resultant outputs. So one, of course, is business, which is common between, let's say, me and Shashank here. We want to do better business with creating a brand. But for a startup, it is more than that. If you look at the fight for talent today, it has reached crazy propositions where where product people are so much in demand. So being right there, the brand being available on Disney, on IPL, is a great way to attract talent. People are proudly able to say, the employees are able to say that I work in this company, because otherwise a lot of the folks back home would not have heard who Neo is. But TV dekho ad aayega, and that's the company I work in, is a big deal, which established company may not understand, but for a startup it is phenomenal. In fact, as I hear, a lot of kids got married once our ads started coming in, who were working with us. So so that's the power of the brand and the power of the association with IPL and Disney.
Great. I think the marriage part, I think, is the value addition that the advertising brings to any organization. That's great. So, Shashank, finally, your thoughts on associating with a marquee property like IPL works.
Yeah. So I have mentioned it many times in the course of this discussion. IPL itself has emerged as a massive platform for garnering premium viewership across diverse audiences.
Yeah.
And we have a whole, as I mentioned, a range of age groups, income groups in different segments of car buying. And associating with such a high impact property obviously builds a higher recall, a brand salience, and even brand consideration, because it's leading to a larger brand engagement. So if you are doing a lot of new launches, it also makes additional sense, because you can actually tell a brand story as well, increasingly on the OTT as well, which was something which was reserved earlier for television viewing alone. So, and for us, especially a high affinity for sports, for RTG. So that makes a lot of sense for us. We have done a lot of research based on which we think it's a great property and great genre to associate with. Of course, we have not done the association on the parameter of marriage alliances. So that is something after Vinay has mentioned, we'll try to incorporate that marriage part as well. And maybe that adds greater value again for our brand.
Very interesting. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being here today. And some really interesting insights, came from all of you. I mean, Nitin shared about, what's new this year on, Disney Plus Hotstar for the IPL advertisers. And Shashank, you shared about the evolution of, how your association with Disney Plus Hotstar began, and what are the kind of expectations now. And Vinay, you brought in the perspective of the new age advertiser, the startup point of view. I mean, how more and more startups can look at Disney Plus Hotstar to enter and, to achieve that dream that they are advertising around cricket, so that, they can reach maximum number of homes, maximum number of people. So thank you very much for being on this panel. So it's lovely interacting with you.